The light in this exhibition is programmed to stay white, although its spectral composition is changing, so the light is constantly changing physically and it interacts with the pigments of the work which is there. And these pigments have been selected to appear either red under a certain light or of many different colors. So you have black ones, yellow, orange, green ones. And so it feels a bit like a magic trick. The color that appears anytime in light is always the product of a combination of some kind of light source that interacts with some materials. So in this case, it's painting. So the color comes from the combination of the light and of the pigments on the painting. There are many different materials here. So there are so-called organic pigments and inorganic pigments. They are all traditionally used materials by artists. So you have ultramarine, cobalt, and synthetic pigments such as quinacridone, phthalocyanine. That's the full range of the most common and brightest pigments. So the lights up there are the product of research that I've been busy with for a year. I got a scholarship from a scientific institution in Belgium for that. So there are like multi-channel light sources. So you see all the colors that appear on the painting. They also exist in the light. So in the light you have many different individual colors, but I tune them such as, I tune them in order to create a perfectly white light with it. So all the components that are in there, that are individually colored, just blend into white, but then they interact with the paintings. This is called lampe ciel or sky lamp. So the idea of this, it's another series, it's a bit different, but let's say you are in somewhere and that's the sunset, you are outside and you see that the sky goes from bluish to white to orange. Well, imagine that you take a pencil and you trace a rectangle in there, you catch this gradient and then you put it inside of an object. And this object will reproject in the space and on the wall the gradient coming from the sky. So this is exactly what this sculpture does, and this is how it's been made. So again, in there's like an individual work inside on every single light source that creates this perfect gradient. This is half of the rectangle, and these are all the cold lights. And if we turn around, we see the other half, which are all the warm tones of light. So this would be the horizon in our rectangle. Yes. And if we follow the entire track, we arrive to the sky.
Yeah, I see it. I see it. Yeah.
What I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to play with the matter, the light, the world itself, if you want. So that's why, for example, in this room, you cannot confine, you cannot place borders on light. It always goes away. So the relationship to space when you work with light is a bit special because you cannot define exactly where it stops and where it starts. And that's what interests me a lot because the light will just interact with every element that is present. This cavity is painted with a certain very dark red pigment inside, and it's spherical, so it's a sphere inside. So we are looking inside of the sphere right now. And when there's no light coming, it appears nearly black, right? But then there's a small red light source that illuminates the inside once in a while, periodically. And the painting that is applied inside reflects this white very much. So it switches from black to red. And I wanted to put this work here because it's also another way of making one of the colors that I'm working on, which is a red-black. Because I also have pigments in the paintings that are like this. I call them red-black because they are sometimes black, sometimes red. And here the red-black is created by a coating, a light, but also by a geometric configuration, because the light is reflected in every direction so many times that when it switches on, it appears like a color field.